Thursday, 7:18 at night, you carry groceries up 3 flights because the elevator in your building has been broken since Labor Day. A paper bag cuts into your fingers. The hallway smells like bleach, old paint, and someone's dinner burning behind 2B. You stop at your door, apartment 3B, the same brass number you've touched for 11 years. Your rent is $1,285. Your coworker Mina pays $2,950 for a newer place with a gym she never uses and a lobby that smells like expensive candles. This afternoon, she asked quietly. You're still there? She didn't mean it cruelly. Cruel would have been easier. She meant it with concern, like your life had missed an exit. You said yes. She said, as long as you're happy. You weren't happy? Not exactly. You were doing math she couldn't see. Behind that scratched door, in a brokerage account no one at work knows exists, there is $327,400. The apartment looks like staying behind. The number says something else. At 24, the apartment was not strategy. It was all you could get. The leasing office was a folding table in an empty unit. The manager wore reading glasses on a chain and asked for 2 pay stubs, a deposit, and proof you made 3 times the rent. You barely did. Salary $46,000. Rent $0,050. After taxes, health insurance, student loan payments, and the bus pass you bought, because parking downtown cost $180 a month. The math left no room for taste. The kitchen had yellow light. The bathroom tile was cracked near the sink. The bedroom could hold a bed if the dresser went in the closet. You signed anyway because a locked door with your name on the lease felt like adulthood. That night your father came by with a toolbox. He fixed the loose cabinet hinge. He looked around and said, "Good starter place." Starter. The words stayed in the room after he left. You put your keys in a chipped ceramic bowl by the door and told yourself this was temporary. Everyone does that at 24. They call survival temporary because permanent would be too honest. 2 years later, the temporary place was still there. So were you? Your salary had moved to $58,000. The rent moved to $1,110. A normal person would have upgraded then. That was the first acceptable moment. Your friend Caleb moved into a glass building by the river. He sent photos of floor-to-ceiling windows and a rooftop pool. The group chat approved his adulthood in 6 seconds. You typed congratulations while sitting on your floor because the couch delivery was delayed again. That week, your lease renewal arrived in a thin white envelope. Increase, $60. You stared at it like it was a mistake. Caleb's rent was $2,300. Your raise after taxes was about $540 a month. If you moved, the raise disappeared. If you stayed, it became margin. The word did not sound glamorous, margin. It sounded like a space on a page no one reads. You opened a spreadsheet anyway. Rent difference, $1,190. Invested monthly, even at a plain 7% average, the future number became rude, too large to ignore. You did not become disciplined that night. You became suspicious of upgrades. At 28, the apartment started embarrassing other people. Not you at first. Other people. Your sister Anna visited before a concert and stood in the doorway holding a bottle of wine. She looked at the radiator, the narrow counter, the window unit humming like an old refrigerator. You could afford better now, she said. That sentence carried 2 judgments. One about money, one about ambition. You opened the wine with a cheap corkscrew and pretended not to hear the second one. A month later, Mina hosted a birthday dinner in her new building. The elevator opened directly into a lounge with velvet chairs and lights under the bar shelves. People kept saying the place was beautiful before anyone asked about her. That is how status works. The room answers for you. When someone asked where you lived, you said the neighborhood, not the building. Caleb laughed and said, "Still in 3B?" Everyone smiled gently. There was no insult, only placement. You had been filed. Stable, modest, maybe careful, maybe scared. That night you came home and stood in your small kitchen, where the refrigerator door hit the opposite cabinet, if opened too wide. The apartment did not defend you. It just waited. The strange part was how invisible the trade became. You did not announce you were staying. You did not become the person who lectures friends about rent. You signed the renewal, put the white envelope in a drawer, and set up an automatic transfer. For $900 every payday into a broad index fund, and a high-yield savings account. Boring names. Boring accounts. Boring is where the future hides when the present is busy performing. The first year, the balance looked pathetic beside the sacrifice. $18,000 saved, and the apartment still had a shower that changed temperature when someone flushed upstairs. The second year, the number crossed $43,000. That paid for nothing visible, so it did not count in public. Your coworkers upgraded furniture. You upgraded distance from the edge. When the sink backed up at 11:40 on a Sunday night, you called the landlord instead of calling a plumber. That was the dirty secret of your cheap apartment. It was not only rent, it was risk transfer. The old building annoyed you. It also protected your cash flow from surprise invoices with commas. At 30, you met Nora. She was not impressed by cheapness. She had lived with bad landlords, loud pipes, and laundry rooms that ate quarters. She understood survival, but she did not romanticize it. On your third month together, she stayed over during a storm. Water tapped inside the window frame and collected in a mixing bowl on the floor. You both listened to it from bed. Drip, drip, drip. The sound made the whole philosophy feel stupid. In the morning, she said, "I don't need luxury. I need to know you aren't hiding from life." That one landed, because maybe you were. Maybe the apartment had stopped being a strategy and become an excuse not to choose anything. You spent that Sunday touring rentals. One had sunlight, a dishwasher, and a balcony wide enough for 2 chairs. Rent, $2,650. Application fee, $75. Parking extra. Pet fee, even though you had no pet. The leasing agent slid the brochure toward you like she was offering a promotion in personhood. You imagined signing. You imagined Nora smiling. You imagined being normal. Then you asked about annual increases. She said, "Market rate." 2 words. No ceiling. That night, the brochure sat on your table beside the rent envelope. 2 futures, both printed on cheap paper. You ran the numbers until 1:12 in the morning. Difference after fees, parking, utilities, and renter's insurance, about $1,850 a month. $22,200 a year. 10 years of that, before investment growth, was a down payment on a house in some cities and breathing room in all of them. The nicer apartment did not cost $1,850. It cost the version of you who could wait. Still, you almost did it. Your thumb hovered over the online application, not because the math was wrong, because Nora's sentence was right enough to hurt. You were not made of spreadsheets. You wanted sunlight. You wanted a kitchen where 2 people could stand without moving sideways. You wanted friends to visit without explaining the building. At 1:19, you closed the laptop. Not forever. Just not that night. The next morning, you called the landlord about the window. He fixed it badly, but he fixed it for free. You hated how much that mattered. By 32, the city changed around you. Coffee shops became cocktail bars. The laundromat became a fitness studio with black windows and a membership more expensive than your first electric bill. New tenants moved into the building across the street and paid $2,400 for less space than you had. Your lease renewal came again, $1,255. You read the number twice. It felt indecent in the opposite direction. Not cheap. Protected. That summer, Caleb called from his balcony. You could hear traffic below him and panic under his voice. His landlord was raising rent by $420. He said he could handle it, then kept talking for 18 minutes like someone trying to convince himself. He had the better view. You had the better floor under your feet. The next week, your company froze bonuses. People complained in the kitchen. Mina said the timing was brutal because her rent and car payment hit the same week. You nodded. You said that was rough. You did not say your housing cost was 18% of your gross pay now. Some numbers become rude when spoken out loud. The pressure changed shape after that. It became real estate. Saturday brunches turned into mortgage conversations. People who used to ask about promotions started asking if you were looking to buy. Anna sent listings with subject lines like, "Just saying." A 2-bedroom condo, $489,000. Monthly payment with 20% down. Taxes, insurance, and HOA, roughly $3,600 at the rates people were getting then. The photos were bright. The math was not. At a family dinner, Your uncle asked why you were still paying someone else's mortgage. It was the kind of sentence people say when they want wisdom to sound like pressure. You could have explained opportunity cost. You could have explained that property taxes rise, roofs leak, special assessments appear in envelopes that ruin weekends. You could have explained that renting cheaply while investing the difference had already put $212,000 beside your name. Instead, you passed the potatoes. Because money you defend out loud starts sounding like insecurity, even when you're right. Your mother touched your wrist after dessert. "We just don't want you to wake up one day with nothing," she said. You looked around her paid-off dining room and understood the love inside the fear. You also understood the fear was old. It came from a world where rent meant instability and ownership meant safety. Your world had become more complicated. At 34, Nora moved in for 6 months while her lease ended and her new job started. The apartment became comically small. 2 toothbrushes in 1 cup, winter coats on the back of chairs, her work bag beside your shoes, because there was nowhere else honest to put it. You expected resentment. What arrived was information. She watched you pay bills on the 15th. Rent, utilities, groceries, automatic investments. She watched the numbers move without drama. One evening, while folding laundry on the bed, she asked how much you had saved. You almost gave the small answer people expect. Enough. Instead, you opened the laptop. $284,000 invested. $48,000 in cash. No credit card debt. No car loan. She stopped folding. The room changed without getting larger. She looked at the stained ceiling, the radiator, the little table where you ate dinner. Then she looked back at the screen. "So this place is why," she said. Not judgment. Translation. For the first time, someone inside the apartment saw the other apartment. The one made of options, the one that did not have walls yet, but already existed. Then the notice came. Not a disaster, just a folded letter taped near the mailboxes on a Wednesday morning. The building had been sold, renovations would begin in the fall, renewals would be reviewed individually. That phrase sounded polite until you read it twice. Reviewed individually means the math has found you. In the hallway, neighbors stood in slippers, reading the same letter with the same expression. Mrs. Alvarez from 2A said she had been there 19 years. A student on the first floor called his mother. You carried the letter upstairs and put it beside the chipped ceramic bowl. For 11 years, the apartment had been a quiet machine, turning restraint into money. Now the machine was ending. You waited for panic. It did not come. You opened your accounts. $327,400 invested. $61,000 in cash. Pre-approval available if you wanted it. Enough to leave without begging. Enough to buy if buying made sense. Enough to rent better without becoming fragile. That was the part everyone had missed. Staying was never the dream. Staying was the bridge. A bridge is not failure because you eventually cross it. 2 months later, Mina saw the boxes by your desk and asked where you were going. You told her the neighborhood west of the park. Smaller building, top floor, good light, rent higher than 3B, but still quiet enough for the numbers to breathe. She smiled, relieved, like you had finally begun. You did not correct her. You had begun years ago in yellow kitchen light, with a cracked tile under your foot, and a lease everyone assumed you were supposed to outgrow. On the last night in 3B, the room was empty except for the ceramic bowl by the door. You picked it up and saw the ring of dust beneath it. An outline of the years you stayed. People thought the apartment kept you small. They saw old cabinets, bad pipes, narrow rooms, a life that looked paused. They never saw what the pause was: buying distance, choice. A future not rented from anyone's opinion. Someone is quietly apologizing for where they live. Maybe the problem was the apology.